Howdy friends, and happy beautiful spring day to you. It's Jennifer with Jen Open Hearts, and for this week I want to talk about what is softening my heart this week. And so for me, it's been reflecting a lot on the magic around me. I know magic can be a funny word, but essentially I mean the beauty and the synchronicity and all the things that just happen along the path. And one of those beautiful synchronistic things has been me pulling the same exact card from my Soul's Journey lesson cards. And so it's been this card of gratitude, which is such a beautiful reminder. It's something that I like to come back to again and again, and I really love using cards just to connect with some different lessons, some different ideas, and some different paths to personal inquiry to get to know myself and my life a little bit better. So this is from the Soul's Journey lesson cards. Gratitude. I am thankful for this life and the opportunities that it presents. Reading the whole thing. This soulful card is telling you that it is time to stop, close your eyes, and become mindful of the incredible gift the universe has bestowed upon you and offering valuable and unique lessons tailored especially for your soul. This is an important reminder to express your appreciation for what has been, what will be, and most important, who you are. It is time to acknowledge to the universe how thankful you are for being provided these opportunities for insights and understanding. It is also time for your soul to share recognition of all those loved ones in your life, upon the earth or in spirit, who have helped you form who you are now. You may even find it helpful to begin to write a list of all the things you are grateful for in your life. When you put forth the contemplation and the energy to do this, it awakens thoughts that acknowledge your connection to all that is. By bringing yourself into a state of gratitude, it not only has a transforming effect on the energy in the sacred space surrounding you, but also brings about an overall sense of health and well-being. So it's really beautiful, right? Gratitude is just this really special energy, this frequency that we can jump into. Oftentimes in our lives, we are operating on autopilot and we forget to really sit down to get centered and to connect with what's around us. There's even a term in psychology, I believe it's Hedonic Adaptation, where we're so used to something that we start to forget how wonderful it is and how joyful it makes us feel. So by cultivating a gratitude practice, there's a reason why it's so trendy and so buzzy and like people are into it. It's all over everywhere all the time, but it's because it helps us shift our awareness. And if that's something that's entering into the mainstream, then oh my God, that's such a good thing and it's such a joyful thing. So gratitude to me really means just slowing down and being present with what I have. And sometimes, especially in Western societies, we're really driven to want more, and there's nothing wrong with that, but essentially it's like we can be in the state of wanting to grasp and to get all these things to complete some sort of personal benchmark or some nice satisfaction within ourselves, and it's really up to us just to sit around and think about, what do I currently have, right? This physical body is something to be immensely grateful for, and that's actually a practice that I've been sitting with just like the past couple weeks. Like before I roll out of bed, I'm sitting there and I try to do a body scan and think about my body. And I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful for my feet for carrying me, for the strength of my legs, for the ability of my intestines and my heart, and the heart that just keeps on beating, and just kind of going through the body and being grateful for all these different spaces that make me me. Oftentimes, especially in like the social media world, we can compare, we can say, oh, it's like I'm not as good, or must be nice to make this much money, XYZ. And it's like when we get out of that mindset of lack, there's a robin, that mindset of lack and appreciation for what we have, we're kind of communicating a different essence. We're feeling different, and people who are around us will feel different too. So it's just this really interesting game of like energy Tetris or energy revamp and rebooting. And I really love the spring season for tapping into those different types of energies. For me, it's easy to get caught into that mind trap of like, oh, this hasn't happened yet, or oh, this thing happened in the past. And we're our own living experiment. We get to choose how we want to feel every moment of every day, of every experience. It's like I really, really love Joe Dispenza a lot. He's like just a phenomenal thinker, writer, all these things, but he wrote this book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And so what he says is that if we are always thinking the same thoughts, we're going to have the same outcome, right? We're going to have the same reality because we're always thinking the same way. Oh, I don't want to get up. Oh, this is still happening. Oh, why is it like this? All these things. And he has this great book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. So how do you break that habit of being the same way, of thinking the same thoughts? And so it's really been an exploration of like, how can you bring in a new thought or a new experience, therefore shifting your reality? So something that I've been sitting with this May is really leaning into consistency, right? I really want to show up consistently for sharing things on social media, for family, for my partner, all these different things. But I also want to be uncomfortable, right? Like, who wants to be uncomfortable? But that's something I'm trying to take on for myself at least this month, and just do some new things to get uncomfortable and to see myself in a new light, to see myself in a new way. And for me, that even comes down to like, how can I dress differently? How can I do my hair differently? How can I start my day in a different way? Like, what are some actionable steps? What are some things I can do that can kind of break my own, like, people talk about the matrix, but it's like, how can I break my own reality in a way that is exciting, that is fun, that is new? And that's actually a really big part of why my husband and I really love to go on trips, because we give ourselves this opportunity to be first in a new physical environment, right? Traveling, camping, being in nature, seeing new things. So we're getting like our dopamine fix from nature and not from like the cell phone and stuff like that. So it's just like, what are the practices that I can do to sort of change my reality a little bit, do different things, say different things, speak different ways, be more mindful of how you speak, maybe forgive someone. There's all these beautiful things that we can say, hey, that's a pattern that I have been practicing for a long time. How can I break it? Or I always do this every Thursday. Why do I do that? Let me see what else I can do, where else I can go, and be nourished by that experience. And just allow yourself to show up differently, because when we allow ourselves to show up differently, we give others permission to do the same. And so if you believe in that concept that like everything is a sacred mirror, right? I'm competing with the lawnmowers today because one neighbor after another is mowing their lawn. They haven't heard of No Mow May, but I'll see if I can't edit it a little bit. But essentially just like, how can we see the world as a mirror, and like, okay, I hold this energetic exchange with the same person in the same way, I say the same things, I think the same way about them every day. Like, how can I take a moment, and that comes back to our beautiful card of Le Gratitude, and think like, how can I be present? How can I sit? How can I reflect on myself, on my situation, and see it in a new light, see myself in a new light, noticing what are the thoughts I have about myself, and how can I see the opposite of that? How can I see the lesson in that experience? How can I show up for myself differently? And so I think there's really wonderful ways that we can sort of reset ourselves in the way that we see ourselves. And one of those ways is being in nature, being away from all the things that are out there. Some people like to use psychedelics, like that's a way that we can sort of help reset our minds and our brains and our ways of thinking about things. Getting into the flow state, movement, dance, whatever it may be. It's really, really beautiful when we take those opportunities to just see ourselves and to see our experience in a different way, in a different light, and to do what really fuels us and lights us up on our path. Because the fact of the matter is that nobody's going to say, Jennifer, go do this. I have to do that. I have to wake up and say, wow, I really want to impact people in a positive way. Okay, am I going to do that just by sitting around? I might, but probably not. Am I going to do it by speaking? Absolutely. Am I going to do it by talking out loud about the things that I'm excited by, the things that are lifting me up, the things that are making me feel full of life in this time and space, in this era when things feel kind of difficult, right? Things feel a little bit like heavy, like energetically. So how can I show up differently so that I can impact the web of life that's around me? And so something that I've really noticed is that when we start to show up differently, we break that habit of being ourselves, as Joe Dispenza so eloquently states, that we allow new exchanges of information to come into ourselves, to come into our beings, to come into our essence of life experience. And I know it's getting a little etheric, I believe is the right word. Esoteric? No, esoteric. And so it's just really beautiful when we can start to do that self-inquiry, to do that sort of like tapping into ourselves, into our personal wellspring of who we are, and start to just question a little bit, get curious. You don't have to rewrite your entire life, to rewrite your entire script of life, but you can just have a watchful eye and a watchful presence of like, wow, this is who I want to be and this is who I am. Am I getting myself there, or am I going this completely other route? And I've done both ends where I'm like, yeah, I want to be a yoga teacher. And so how do I do that? I get my certificate, but I also have to practice yoga. Like I can't just like, I got it, I did it, it's done, I'm going to be a yoga teacher now. You have to have a daily practice. You have to commit, you have to be consistent, and all these things. So I didn't expect to talk about all this. It kind of free flowed out, but I just want to drop that food for thought, something that's really lifting me up, that's inspiring me and getting me excited about life, is just this notion of how can I be present with myself? How can I see myself? How can I be grateful for my life experiences at the base core level? And if I can't see the big picture, how can I recreate it? How can I repaint that big picture of where I want my life to go? And how can I show universe, God, source, that I'm excited about what I currently have and that I'm looking forward to more things happening? But I have to move in alignment towards that direction. It can't just be like, here's a wish, popping it out into the ethers. Like I have to do some aligned action to get me to that place. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it was introspective. I hope it raised some curiosity. I hope the lawnmowers weren't too loud. But thank you so much for watching, and wishing you a beautiful day. I hope you find a moment of time to practice gratitude, or to think, how can I integrate more gratitude into my life? How can I be present with these very seemingly simple gifts that I have, right? Like, oh my God, I have hands and they're beautiful and they can like do so many things. Like that in itself is such a big blessing. And it's just a reminder to not sweat the small stuff, to really relish in the sweetness of everything. And I'll leave you with that. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll look forward to connecting with you next week. Have a good one. There you go.